We will find out Wednesday night who George McPhee is taking. Who would you take? Now that we have all this information in front of us, start with your offense.
Well, of course, I don't know what all the deals are, but there are a lot of guys that I'm very, very interested in when you look at what was available up front. And start with the centers. Brock Nelson.
Wow.
Is there a deal in place with the Islanders? We know the Islanders wanted to protect those great young D and Pulak and Pelech, but Brock Nelson being available, come on. Mikhail Grigorenko, that's a guy to me that we don't know what he can be yet. Another first-rounder, high pick. Cody Eakin, he can play center or wing. Brian Boyle, unrestricted, but I still like him. Real deal, James Neal. How can you pass on this guy? He's got 1 year left. He's at $5 million. Jonathan Marchessault showed at $750, 30 goals. Unbelievable. I love Troy Brouwer. I just love him. I love the character that he brings. I've known a lot of coaches that have coached him, and he is a high valuable guy to me. The rest of the players here, they're not all going to be on the final NHL roster. I've got 11 forwards, but there's other guys that are going to come into the mix. There's other deals, and you got to plan for that.
How about the back end, the D? We heard so much about Nashville's D during their run to the Cup final. What does your back end look like?
The back end actually really surprised me when you looked at the guys that were available. I believe that Jack Johnson is a guy that's going to be available. I think the deal with Columbus is to not take Josh Anderson and maybe one or two of their younger goalies in Korpisalo and Forsberg. Marco Scandella, wow, this one to me is really shocking. This is just too good a player.
27 years old.
You could have Scandella or Dumba right now with the Minnesota Wild if there's not a deal in place. Mark Mathot, we know Dion Phaneuf did not want to waive the no move. He's a guy that falls through the cracks. Jake Dockin, this is a guy that I'm so excited about. He just proved that he can be a high-end D, I think, long-term, still in the early stages of his career. And then TVR, love what he brings. Adam McQuaid character. Ben Lovejoy, Stanley Cup champion. McNabb, Kulikov's at UFA. Fascinating group of D available right now.
And we see your four goalies, starting with the obvious, Marc-Andre Fleury. Do you think you can turn around in that GM's chair those assets and get value somewhere else around the league?
I think this is where you'll find the most value for George McPhee. He'll be able to go out into the marketplace. I think he keeps Fleury, but I think he trades them before the 2 years are up. Ooh. Of course, you can trade Marc-Andre Fleury. Had the no move he had to waive, but does not have any option in terms of the no trade. That becomes back into effect.
Interesting.
Yes.
And in terms of recognizing the expectations, because, as we mentioned earlier, Bill Foley wants this team to win a cup within 6 years. What are realistic expectations for George McPhee in this GM role?
I think this year they're going to be very competitive. I think George McPhee would have sat down with Bill Foley privately and mapped out what he sees the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years being. And I like the target of trying to win the Stanley Cup within 6 years. I think it gives George McPhee the type of flexibility he needs to make decisions for the long term. Not necessarily worry about you have to win this year, you have to try to be ultra competitive. I think they're going to be competitive, but I still think they've got an eye to the future.
I've heard you say he's the perfect fit in this role. Why?
For me, experience, and then just his demeanor. George McPhee is a very calm individual. He doesn't panic. I think he's going to be patient. He's been up and down in this league, started making it to the finals his first year, tore his team down, built back another dominating team. He's going to be awesome.
All eyes on you, George.